Hello, everyone. My name is Benji. That is Alex.
Yo.
And we are here celebrating 40 years of Disney on Ice. It was 40 years today that Disney on Ice debuted in New Jersey.
New
Jersey. And to celebrate, we have an article kind of sharing my thoughts on what Disney on Ice means to me. But we thought we'd get together. Maybe you can put in your comments what Disney on Ice means to you, and we'll share our thoughts and go through some fun facts and some old photos and videos. So with that, let's start with a little kickoff from our friends at Feld Entertainment.
Everything that you do in life starts with one small step. The first show premiered in 1981, and it's been history making. We're still bringing happiness to generations of families. When we started it, we never knew that it would ever last this long. Disney on Ice is ever changing, and there's always surprises for all of our Disney fans. And that's the key. And as long as we can do that, Disney on Ice will be around.
Yay!
Axel shares that they want to see some Disney on Ice shows.
They're coming back in August.
Yeah, they did a sort of a Feld sort of safety thing, and Kyle, we actually sent someone to Oklahoma, I believe, to kind of catch what they did. You could buy tickets in little pods, but pretty soon it should be open to everyone. And Justin surprises me by saying he's never seen Disney on Ice.
I'd say it's time you change that.
Kelvin says she's excited. I'm sure, or he or she.
Well, I'm not 40, but I can't remember not having Disney on Ice in my life, and I just wonder if I had been born, because I'm not close to 40. So I can't imagine, like, if I was born like 10 years prior, what life would have been like waiting for something like Disney on Ice to come along.
It's interesting to me because, like, I'm nearly 40. And so basically, by the time I saw Disney on Ice, it was already an established thing. Like, people knew what it was. But I basically started, like, the second year of Disney on Ice going. And it was just part of what you did. Like, it was every year. It was a constant. It was like, it's hard to think of life for someone my age before Disney World or Disneyland, although my parents were around before both of those things. But for someone who grew up not near a Disney park, it was as close as you were going to get.
Yeah, and even for me, I mean, not that I never went to Disneyland as a kid. I didn't get to go to Disneyland till my teenage years, but we would go to Disney World, and actually, like, a visit to Disney World when I was 3 is my first memory that I can remember when I go back in my life and know what was chronologically where. But I would say probably second to that is seeing Peter Pan on Ice, which was, Peter Pan is one of my favorite Disney movies. And I believe it's in large part due to seeing Peter Pan on ice. And I just remember being blown away. Not only was it on ice, but they were doing wire work on ice. And not that long ago, they brought back elements of that show in one of their multi-story productions that they've had going on. And so it was really cool to get to see some of the costumes, hear some of the same music, because typically the music in Disney on Ice is not just lifted from the film, it's reorchestrated specifically for the ice show. So it was really an interesting moment to get that back, to get to see elements of that Peter Pan on Ice again.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's funny because Disney on Ice knows everything Disney does, and so, like, sometimes you'll get a song that's from, like, the promotional video to something, and they'll do it because you need more music when you do an ice show because you need to have something to skate to, and so they can get very creative.
Well, speaking of pulling music from elsewhere, I remember I hadn't seen Mary Poppins before I saw Peter Pan on Ice, and Peter Pan on Ice opens with "It's a Jolly Holiday in London." Like they tweak the words to Jolly Holiday to be about welcoming you to London in the beginning of that show, and so I remember when I got the Disney sing-along song that had Jolly Holiday on it, being like, "Oh, this song's from Peter Pan on Ice." It was the other way around, but
So let's look at some old memories here. You got from, I don't know what year this is, but it's pretty early on. You got
it has to be early on because there's nothing newer than, is Alice in Wonderland the newest thing in here? I believe it is.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then this was Happy Birthday Doll. This was actually the first international show they did and went to Japan. In 1985, Michael Eisner, when he came in, wanted
a very good year.
Wanted Disney to expand internationally, and obviously Disney on Ice can kind of go places that you just can't build a theme park. Go to cities across the country and the world. So this one went international. This is Pinocchio on Ice, which is an early show as well. Oh, I don't know what this is from, but I want to say it's Mickey's. Let me see if I can see Mickey's 50th. No,
I looking at this photo, I have to believe that the costume designer for the Brandy, Whitney Houston, Wonderful World of Disney, Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella saw these outfits and then dressed their ball with these costumes, because like everyone but Cinderella and the Prince have this shade of purple on.
I remember this show. And you even have the Colony Theater where Mickey Mouse debuted and Steamboat Willie. Nice touch.
A deep cut.
And also 42nd Street before Disney was a big presence there. And you see pictures of clowns in here. And Disney on Ice is run by Feld Entertainment. And they also ran the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. So sometimes you would see a little bit of cross-pollination. Some circus acts kind of brought in to kind of add an extra element to Disney on Ice.
Or at the very least, there's like merchandise crossovers. And I remember first seeing them at the circus, these like spinning disc things that the clowns would kind of sell you on. But then they switched, they started incorporating them into Disney on Ice. So usually it's like before the show, while you're waiting, you watch, skaters out of costume throwing these things around. And then, of course, if you want one, they're moving through the aisles. And they will gladly take your money.
I remember this one, DTV, and I remember this was a big deal because they had like Chippendale Rescue Rangers in there.
Well, and I was looking at photos of this one. I don't remember this one, but I wish that I either went or remembered going, because I don't know if maybe I was just too young to remember and I did go to this show. But like for DuckTales, they have all kinds of characters that you never saw in the parks. Gyro Gearloose as like a walk around character on skates.
And what I remember about this was, I think this was the double feature. And in the program, it says they saw, because it was typically like one show. And so, but this time they kind of split it up in intermission. And they said they got the idea because they went to go see Rescuers Down Under, and it had Emperor's New Clothes. I'm sorry, not Emperor's New Clothes.
Prince and the Pauper.
Prince and the Pauper attached to it as like a double feature, and that's where they got the idea to do a double feature Disney on Ice.
And DTV was on Disney Channel as like that music video thing, but it was also making like a wink and a nod to MTV, right?
Mm-hmm. Mickey Mouse at the
hop.
At the hop. Roger Rabbit was a very big staple of Disney on Ice in the days. It's obviously a little bit more modern. In fact, this is the current show, Mickey Search Party.
Ooh. Which we have not seen this one yet, right?
No, we kind of got canceled.
Yeah, well, it's coming back around now. It's
Moana
back on.
And Coco.
Oh, that bridge looks so cool.
Yeah. And then here's sort of the glamour shot of the whole crew there. And here's from opening night, I believe, of what it used to be. Disney on Ice used to be called Walt Disney World on Ice.
Mm-hmm. In fact, my program from Peter Pan on Ice, which I still have, says Walt Disney World on Ice. I think my Beauty and the Beast program has that too.
Well, and one of the fun things is they sent us some program like samples from back in the day. We got the current one, and I would always go back in the back and find out all about, like, it would have the pictures and stuff I've seen the show, but like the creative and the costume design and the mystery of the Feld family and why wasn't I born into the right family.
I want to be a Feld.
But Axel cannot wait to see Mickey's Search Party. I am with her as well. So I do want to share a little bit it's a little bit of like a 10-minute clip of Kenneth Feld talking to Courtney from D23 about the history of Disney on Ice. So we will watch that with you.
Roll it.
Good afternoon. My name is Courtney Potter. I am an editor and writer with D23, the official Disney fan club, and I am so thrilled to welcome everyone to the Disney on Ice 40th Anniversary Roundtable. Let's go back to the very beginning. How did Disney on Ice all start?
Well, it actually started, we had Ice Follies and Holiday on Ice, which were traditional touring ice shows. And one Saturday afternoon, I was at one of the shows and I realized, I looked around the audience and it was an older audience. There weren't a lot of families there. And I knew in order to succeed in the long term, we needed to bring families in. And that was the motivation for me to go to Disney.
Now, how did you come up with that first show concept? What was important to you about it?
There were a couple important things, because now we take it for granted because it's so many years later, but at the time it was a risk, and we wanted to have as many Disney characters in one show as possible. That the only place you could see more Disney characters would be if you had gone to Disneyland or Disney World. But one thing that was very important for us is we didn't want this to be just a kids show. So the integrity of the ice skating was very important. And that was, then we have world-class ice skaters, people that had participated and won Olympic medals. And so this was a true family show. And then over time, we had the credibility of the skating. We had to teach these athletes to become actors. And then what we could do is we learned more every year, and the shows evolved into what they've become today.
Right. We've chatted before, and there's a really great story about that very first show and some special people that were there with you at that first performance. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it was amazing. We opened in July 14th at the Brendan Byrne Arena, which was a brand new arena in New Jersey. And in attendance was Ron Miller, who was the CEO of the Disney company at the time, and Diane Disney, who was his wife. And she was there, and I sat with her on that opening night, and I turned around at the end of the show, and we had literally every character on the ice, and I could see her emotion, and I could see the tears coming down. And she turned to me and she said, "My father would have loved this." And that was a moment for us, and it really spoke volumes, and it was something that really pushed us to continue to make sure we always had the quality and the Disney ethos in every single show and everything that we did.
I know it was a big deal to take Disney on Ice international for the very first time. Tell me about the expansion of Disney on Ice, how that came about, and what it meant to audiences around the world.
It was really something special and something for us. I mean, in 1985, Michael Eisner We had just negotiated a new arrangement, and it was a 5-year arrangement. And what he wanted was, he wanted to make sure that we took Disney on Ice not just in North America, but globally. And that became one of the contract terms, but it also enhanced and changed our company forever. And our first international tour was in Japan, and it opened in 1986. And it was Donald Duck's, it had been his 40th birthday. It was now his birthday celebration. He was a few years older then. And it was extraordinary, the response that it got. And we always thought of Disney on Ice as an ambassador of Disney throughout the world. And we play in so many places where there's no live presence that Disney has. So we are it, and it has been extraordinary. And the one thing I will say, wherever we go, you see this joy that is universal that Disney brings to everyone around the world.
That's amazing. What is so impressive to me is the progression of the shows throughout the 40 years. Can you talk a little bit about what you have done to keep the shows current and people coming back for generations?
Every year, the goal is to do something different than what we've done the prior year. And I will say, working with the Disney team has been extraordinary, and we're always pressing what is new in technology, what can we do? So we have all these other shows that we produce, whether it was Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, or we have motorsport shows, and we can incorporate all of these things into Disney on Ice in different ways. So it adds a level of unexpectedness, and it takes people to a different place, and I think it further defines the unique aspects of Disney on Ice. And so if you come back every year, you're going to see something different and something that's going to totally amaze you.
What does Disney mean to your family?
Disney, it means a lot to our family because it's a huge part of our company and how we think every day. But I think the most important thing is we are really entrusted with the most valuable intellectual property in the world, and that's all the Disney properties. And we treat it as if we own it. We obviously don't own it, but the integrity of the Disney characters, of the Disney properties, is first and foremost, and we respect that, and we want to take care of it because that is the most valuable, really, possession of the Disney company, as well as all the IP that they've created over the years. And we want to make sure that we can maintain that quality, and that's what we've done.
Well, I think now is a great time to introduce a very special guest. She is a 2-time world champion, 4-time US champion, an Olympic medalist, and was a featured skater for the first 10 years of Walt Disney's World on Ice. Linda Fratiani.
Nice to see you, Linda. Thanks for coming back after all these years.
Oh, my pleasure. Congratulations, Kenneth, on 40 years of Disney on Ice. It has been the most spectacular show of all time, and it was such an honor for me to be a part of it.
What was it like going from the Olympics to then skating alongside of Mickey Mouse in Disney on Ice?
Yes, I grew up in California, and every year my family and I would go to Disneyland, and it was so exciting for us. I'm one of 5, and so when I was asked if I wanted to join the Disney on Ice show, I was like, are you kidding me? This has been a dream. And so when I skated with Mickey and Minnie and Goofy and all the Disney characters, it was really a dream come true. And to be on the ice with them and interact and sing and dance, and it was, you know, it was the dream job for me, and I couldn't believe I was even getting paid for this. It was something that I absolutely loved doing every night.
we have one last very special surprise. We couldn't celebrate 40 years of Disney on Ice without inviting a certain icon to join us. So please put your virtual hands together for your friend and mine, the star of Disney on Ice, Mickey Mouse.
Hey, Mickey. It's great to see you. Congratulations on 40 years. And I have to tell you all something about Mickey Mouse. In 40 years, Mickey Mouse has never missed a performance. An extraordinary record, and we're counting on another 40 years.
That's amazing. Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Mickey, and thank you again, Kenneth and to Linda, for sharing so many wonderful stories with us today. And most especially, thanks to all of you out there for joining our celebration for such an incredible milestone with Disney on Ice. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you real soon.
So
You were muted for a second, Ben.
Oh, I didn't say anything interesting. That's okay.
Oh, okay. That was cute. I enjoyed that.
So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine. I mean, I probably saw her skate, right? Like, because first 10 years, yeah, I definitely did.
Yeah. She was possibly Wendy and Belle in the Peter Pan and Beauty and the Beast shows. I remember so well from when I was a kid.
And I don't know. Do you have any special memories of Disney on Ice?
I mean, every memory of going to Disney on Ice is a special memory. The most recent that I can think of where it was like a really cool moment, it was I think my first time sitting ringside. Like, you had got us front row seats and we were on the corner. We had recently gone to Denver to see the Frozen musical before it went to Broadway. And I had my t-shirt, which was like a Colorado license plate, and it said FRZ1 and then BWY, like Frozen Broadway. And anyway, the Elsa in the show ended up taking her bow at that corner, like standing on the platform, and she looked down and saw my shirt and recognized what it was, because it's not obviously like a Disney Frozen shirt. And so she was like, "Cool shirt," like yelling to me over the loud music. And I was like, "Oh, that's special. That's a really magic moment." I remember the first time I went to a Disney on Ice show where it was a full story based on a movie. And I knew this movie wasn't a musical. And to me, Disney on Ice was always, very music focused. And I couldn't fathom how they were going to do Toy Story on ice when the movie has like 2 songs. And I just remember being blown away by it. Like, it was probably, a mashup musical before they were popular. Yeah, I mean, Toys Are Back in Town, they obviously pulled from the trailer. But like, I remember Bo Peep. I can't remember what song it was, but she was like made her entrance to like a punk rock, like rocker girl song, something like Heartbreaker, like something of that tone.
Do you remember what they did when they did the Toy Story and Toy Story 2 combined and had to introduce Barbie?
I don't. Oh, yes, I'm a Barbie girl. Yeah, I did see that show. And then I even saw one after Toy Story 3 where it was like first act was like condensed versions of Toy Story and Toy Story 2, and then intermission, and then second act was like the full story of Toy Story 3. So they've done some brilliant work in pulling songs out. Even like the current shows that are going around, they've pulled things that don't have a lot of music, where they have to bring it from other sources, and usually it's pop culture and really fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I'd see Cars on Ice, but
yeah,
I did.
That was another one when it first happened, and I was like, "Is this cheating?" Like, because where's the skaters? But I loved it. It was very fun. And that's another thing I will say is, like, as a kid, I remember going to Disney on Ice, and like I was always interested in everything. So something like Beauty and the Beast on Ice has the full story. I had no issue with it. But I remember my older brother being dragged along, and he was very much like, that's a boy thing, this is a girl thing, and didn't want anything to do with the girl stuff. And so I remember him kind of hemming and hawing during Beauty and the Beast on ice. And one of the things I will say about the new shows that are going around is they're so well balanced. For every like Pixie Hollow, there's a Cars. You know, there's always something to kind of balance out. If something skews more feminine or masculine, they always have something that kind of, equal weighs it out on the other side. So if there are kids like my older brother in the audience, they won't mind. Whereas I'm just there for all of it and enjoy everything they do.
When I used to date eons ago, and not very successfully, like I would do a test, and it's like I would invite them to go to Disney on Ice, and if they were like, ew, no, that's juvenile, then like we weren't dating.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, because we don't have kids and we still go to Disney on Ice shows, and I sometimes feel a little awkward, particularly before the show starts. I feel like once it starts, other adults are like, oh, I'm enjoying this too. I can see why there's people here without kids. I would say more recently too, I've seen a lot more couples going without kids. So I think it's become a lot more common. But like watching this video, this sizzle reel, look at the spectacle of this. I mean, there's elements that are like you would get in a Cirque du Soleil show. Obviously, if you went to, your typical Ice Capades style show, that skews more adult. So just because they're dressed up as Disney characters or Mickey and the gang are hosting and introducing, I wouldn't say makes it exclusively for kids. So, I would encourage anyone who's watching who maybe doesn't have kids and is like, should I go see a Disney on Ice show? You might feel a little weird until the show starts. And then during the intermission, all the other adults will be talking about just how cool everything was they just saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, it depends on where you go. Like, when you go to Orlando, there's obviously a lot of Disney people there. And I mean, I'm not seeing the 10 a.m. Saturday show either, but it's just funny to see how the show has evolved. And I mean, it just brings back so many memories because, Zorro.
Wow. Yeah, looking at this, like Herbie on Ice, I kind of wish they would do like a 40th anniversary special show. Maybe they can start working on this for like the 50th anniversary of Disney on Ice, because there's characters in here. Like I saw the three Caballeros, all three of them in a conga line on ice. You wouldn't see that otherwise. And I think it'd be really cool to kind of celebrate that history of Disney and history of Disney on Ice by bringing out some of that classic retro stuff.
Yeah, it's just I guess, I just remember we lived in California, but we didn't go to Disneyland because we were in Northern California. And, I remember just telling all my friends at school, like, okay, you're going to sit down. They're going to tell you 5-minute warning, and there's going to be a 3-minute warning, and you're going to get one of these light things because you're going to come with your parents. It's important, and it's going to glow with the show.
And the light things have improved over the years. I remember like getting one probably at my first Disney on Ice show, and my mom was smart and would always like bring it so that, she didn't have to fork over the cash for another one. And it had like a little Mickey on top, and then there was like a mirror thing inside with a light, but you had to spin it. It didn't just do it on its own. And so I remember like my arm getting tired, trying to do it through the show. And then I remember too, like as they started coming out with stuff like lighted Tinkerbell wands, being like, oh, I want that. I did get a light up sword that had Sorcerer Mickey on it, but it was because I think Sleeping Beauty was in the story. So it was like for Prince Philip.
Well, and they had those swords despite like I was like forever for no apparent reason, but they were cool. So
to Carolyn's point, I just remembered being wowed by the grandmother Willow, like moving set piece in Pocahontas. I was probably like, I think I was 10. Pocahontas was 95, right? So I was 10. And I just remember thinking, like, how'd they do that? Because it was either a puppet or an animatronic, like her mouth and eyes actually moved, but it was like on wheels or something, so it would like slide around. And if I remember correctly, it was like independently moving, like you didn't see skaters in all black, like moving it around, trying to blend in with white ice, like you sometimes get with those moving set pieces. And then you compare it nowadays to all of the, they can follow lines embedded in the ice. So when you see like Frozen come to life and like the staircase just kind of move out as she's doing Let It Go. So many cool moments with the technology. But yeah, the acrobatics are always incredible. And that one clip that you showed, Benji, of Beauty and the Beast, I think we saw that at our last show that we went to. And I just remember thinking it was crazy that like all of the forks and spoons from Be Our Guest got on those rope wires, and then Belle in the center, and they spun around and made like a little carousel in the air, and then of course had to land on skates and continue the motion that they were in. It was just crazy.
Well, congratulations, Disney on Ice, 40 years. Can't wait to get back to see you, and look forward to seeing what the next 40 years bring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should make it. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us. And it's Disney's crazy right now, so you'll never know what's going to pop up. So follow us, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and we will see you soon. Bye, everybody.